One man spent 27 years behind bars, labeled a terrorist by some, a hero by others, and when he finally walked out of prison, instead of seeking revenge, he offered forgiveness. What if I told you that this man not only changed his country but shook the entire world with his courage? This is not a movie script. This is the real story of Nelson Mandela, the man whose long walk to freedom became one of the greatest journeys in human history. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear will leave you questioning your own strength, your patience, and your power to forgive. Let's rewind. South Africa, early 20th century. A land rich in gold, diamonds, and culture, but divided by something uglier than poverty, a system called apartheid. Apartheid wasn't just racism in whispers. It was racism written into law. Black South Africans were told where to live, where to work, where to sit, even which door to use. Imagine being born in your own country but treated like a trespasser every single day. That was the reality when Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela came into the world in 1918, in a small village called Mvezo. Mandela's name Rolihlahla in his language meant pulling the branch of a tree, or more loosely, troublemaker. And oh yes, he lived up to that name, but not in the way you think. As a boy, he ran barefoot, herded cattle, and listened to the elders' stories about African warriors who fought for freedom. Something stirred inside him. He was quiet, but his mind was sharp. When he went to school, a teacher gave him a new name, Nelson. Why? Because colonial rules forced African children to take English names. Even his identity was rewritten by someone else. Think about that. How would you feel if someone decided your name didn't belong? Fast forward. Young Mandela goes to study law in Johannesburg. For the first time, he sees the cruel machinery of apartheid in full swing. Signs that read whites only slapped across benches, buses, toilets. Black people arrested for walking without a passbook, a piece of paper that told them where they could and couldn't go. Mandela was furious, but fury alone wasn't enough. He wanted action. He joined the African National Congress, the ANC. At first, their fight was peaceful protests, petitions, speeches. But the white minority government wasn't listening. They had the police, the military, the guns. The ANC had voices, and voices were being silenced with bullets. Here's where Mandela's life takes a dangerous turn. After the Sharpeville massacre in 1960, where police opened fire on a peaceful crowd killing 69 unarmed protesters, Mandela made a decision. Enough was enough. He helped form Umkhonto we Sizwe Spear of the Nation, the armed wing of the ANC. No, he didn't start bombing schools or markets. He chose sabotage, targeting government buildings, power plants, infrastructure. He wanted to shake the system, not kill the people. But to the government, he was now public enemy number one. By 1962, Mandela was arrested. But even behind bars, he wouldn't break. He escaped once, went underground, disguised himself as a chauffeur, even earned the nickname the Black Pimpernel because nobody could catch him. But in 1962, his luck ran out. He was captured, charged, and sentenced to 5 years. 2 years later, while he was still in prison, the police raided a farm called Lily's Leaf, where they found documents linking Mandela and his comrades to plans for armed resistance. That raid sealed his fate. Mandela and others were put on trial in what became known as the Rivonia Trial. Now, picture this. The courtroom is packed. Reporters, police, international observers. Mandela stands in the dock, calm, composed, knowing full well he might face the death penalty. The judge asks if he has anything to say. Mandela looks at the courtroom and delivers one of the most powerful speeches of the century. He doesn't beg for mercy. He declares, "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." Silence. Imagine the courage it takes to stare death in the face and say those words. The judge spares his life but sentences him to life imprisonment. He was only 46 years old. And so began the darkest chapter. Mandela was sent to Robben Island, a cold, windswept prison off the coast of Cape Town. His cell, barely wide enough to stretch his arms, a thin mat on the floor. He was forced to break rocks in the quarry under the blazing sun. Guards humiliated prisoners, gave them rotten food, then newspapers, censored letters. Sometimes, Mandela was allowed only one visitor every 6 months. Try to imagine 6 months of waiting, and when that one person comes, guards listen to every word you say. But Mandela did not break. Instead, he used prison as a university. He studied his jailers, learned their language, and slowly, he turned enemies into reluctant respecters. Even the guards began to call him Tata Father. 27 years. Let that sink in. A man in his prime locked away while the world outside changed, music evolved, technology evolved, leaders came and went, but Mandela remained behind bars. Yet his spirit spread beyond the prison walls. His face became the symbol of resistance. Across the world, people marched with banners reading "Free Nelson Mandela." Artists sang songs for him. Countries boycotted South African goods. The pressure grew. The government was cornered. Finally, in 1990, under President F.W. de Klerk, the unthinkable happened. Mandela was released. Cameras captured that moment, a tall, gray-haired man, walking hand in hand with his wife Winnie, raising his fist in the air. The crowd roared. After 27 years, he was free. But here's the twist: Mandela didn't come out bitter. He didn't call for revenge against whites. He called for peace. He called for reconciliation. And that's what shocked the world. How could a man forgive after nearly 3 decades of chains? But freedom wasn't the end of the fight. South Africa was on the brink of civil war. Violence between black and white communities, and even among black factions, was boiling. Mandela had to walk a tightrope, calm the anger of his own people while negotiating with the very government that locked him away. He met face to face with de Klerk. 2 men from opposite worlds, one branded a terrorist, the other the president. Together, they worked out a new constitution. In 1994, South Africa held its first democratic elections. For the first time, black South Africans could vote. The line stretched for miles. And when the results came in, Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa. President Mandela didn't build his legacy on punishment. He built it on forgiveness. He set up the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where victims and perpetrators of apartheid crimes came forward, told the truth, and sometimes walked away forgiven. It wasn't perfect, but it was revolutionary. Mandela believed healing was more powerful than hate. He famously wore the jersey of the mostly white rugby team, the Springboks, during the World Cup, uniting a divided nation through sport. That moment was captured in history as a symbol of hope. Mandela served only 1 term. He didn't cling to power like so many others. After 5 years, he stepped down, proving that leadership is about serving, not ruling. In his later years, he became a global elder, a voice for peace, for children, for justice. When he passed away in 2013 at the age of 95, the world mourned not just a man but a symbol, a man who walked from a small village to a prison cell to the presidency, and along the way, carried the torch of freedom for millions. So, what's the takeaway from Mandela's long walk to freedom? Here it is: strength is not measured by how hard you hit, but how long you can endure. True leadership is not about revenge but about reconciliation. And freedom is never free, it's fought for, sacrificed for, and protected with courage. Mandela once said, "Courage is not the absence of fear, it's inspiring others to move beyond it." His life is proof. Now I want you to pause and reflect. Could you forgive someone who stole 27 years of your life? Could you come out of prison not bitter, but better? That's the challenge Mandela leaves us with. His story is not just South Africa's story. It's a reminder for all of us, in our homes, in our communities, in our countries, that change begins when we refuse to give up. If this story touched you, don't just move on. Share it. Let more people know about Mandela's walk to freedom. Like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments. What part of Mandela's journey hit you the most? And of course, subscribe for more real stories of real heroes, because somewhere out there, the next Mandela might be watching this right now.